So one of these days, we'll figure out how to intro the show right. For now,
it's a bunch of inappropriate bullshit that we had to cut out.
Well, it is late at night. It's been a long day.
Saturday. I mean, this is like a typical Sparta day for us, though, especially you at the studio, just, a solid 18 hours.
Just a few, yeah. Got here, we did a promo day, had a bunch of fighters come through, and then we turned it into the podcast set.
And we had a couple not show up. You know who you are.
Hey, yeah. Way to go. It's okay. We enjoyed those breaks because we needed them. We are back. This is episode 2 of the podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeffrey.
Everybody knows who I am. Again, they might not know who you are.
My name, once again, is Jesse. I am the Chief Operations Officer of Sparta Sports and Entertainment and Sparta Media Group, and I'm usually behind the scenes, so Jeff's making me come out and talk to you and make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just threw you under the bus last time, so hey, let's talk about you being a drug addict.
Yeah, that was great, Jeff. Thanks. Sorry, Nana. No. It's been 8 years, so I think I'm quite comfy with that.
Yeah, it was awesome to just hear you share your story, I mean, over 14 years, we have some crazy fucking stories that have taken place. One of them is like when I come in and see the studio set up, and we got Mike here today and Tom, and like people don't see, Nick was here all day as well. It's like actually a team instead of just me and you in a 8x8 closet space making videos.
Yeah. Yes. It was a pretty good day.
One camera in that fucking room, and we made some cool shit though.
Oh, you're talking about back in the day.
Yeah.
It's come a long way to where we could have these multi-camera setups. We can do the multi-camera events. We've been on TV back when we did Altitude, and yeah, I think we live stream every single event. We're about to start live streaming all the weigh-ins, but if you take it back, this has only been the past 5 years, I think, that we've been doing it, and just kind of learning on the fly. And, we've met some really good TV personalities like Gars, and, we have Garsworks and a couple other people that we've worked with. But back in the day, not so much. I took out my bedroom at my old loft and taped up a bunch of blue miscellaneous fabrics, and we had a blue screen room that I didn't know how to light. And then we also had my loft that was about 6 feet high, and then it had a triangular back curving, so I had to crawl inside of it, and I'd shoot out, and the fighter would be right there in my face. I'd get hit. Our matchmaker Vern used to be a fighter for us, and he actually hit my lens and gave me a little black eye. It was fun.
Yeah, I remember you had that fucking dolly that you made out of PVC pipe, and you're like, "This is sick." You got.
I still have that. It's back there.
Yeah, it was like, holy shit, man. We were just jimmy rigging things, and we thought it was pretty cool.
Well, you had the thing with a dolly is you need to have some space, and I think we had maybe 5 feet and old school cameras. This is nerd talk. If you're not into cameras, sorry. Basically an old camcorder, and I put it on this PVC pipe, and I could move it 3 inches forward and back, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and no one could tell anything with it. But it's come a long way. Now we have gimbals, cameras. I got minions over there working on stuff. Nice job, hi minions.
Yeah, no, we have an incredible team of enablers that, make shit happen, and it is crazy though when you look back and you see some of the videos we made, and I'm just like, these are fucking terrible. And we thought they were cool. And I remember you went through this phase of burning fucking embers blowing up all over, and you thought they were the coolest thing ever.
Hated those.
I fucking hated those things, man. I'm like, these are maybe cool for 4th of July, but 14 videos in a row, and you're like, well, I spent 14 fucking hours editing this fucking thing, and I'm like, bro, I hate it. It's terrible. There was a couple people that thought it was cool, but I fucking hated it, man. I can't tell you.
See, here's the thing. You're also looking back, though. There was a lot of stuff that you found sick. And because you started getting me into it, because I'd be like, oh, this thing sucks, because I was getting back into editing. You're like, oh, it's so cool. And I'm really just trial and erroring stuff. And I remember finding those sparks, and I can't even remember the first time I got them, it was like me shooting a fire and beating it with a stick and seeing sparks come up. And it was a horrible composite. And then I found stuff online, and I did it once. And it looked really good to all of us because it was new. But then I overdid it in every single video for a year. And that's how it kind of went. I've watched those it will make you nauseous looking at the old content. But I think that's what a lot of people in the art industry may say when they look back on their videos. And we have some classics where we also made videos way too long, like when we did the Thunderdome event.
That still was like one of the coolest fucking videos.
It is a cool
ever.
commercial, but it's also like 3.5 minutes long of we all dressed up like road warriors and got like the ski pads covered in blood and shot it in front of a blue screen. And just like, so there's like, I just multiplied Jeff going like this over and over. So you look like an army of Jeffs and all the fighters. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I should put inserts of it just to give some reference, because it was pretty cool, but it was, I don't know. It's fun looking back and seeing all the happy mistakes you made and just learning as you go, and things that I like. There's videos that I remember I would fight you if you hated this commercial because it was the sickest thing ever. And it like gives me a headache even like looking at now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like anything, like the growth of the company, and I like look back and we had no fucking lighting. We had just one camera with you on the stand, and we had a black canvas so you couldn't see shit.
No, yeah, the black canvas was not a good idea. Oh, those first lights. So we used to rent them, like when we started off, or we'd be at like venues that had the lights overhead, and then, you know, just like we do with everything, kind of, we see it working and we're like, well, why can't we do that? And then we'll go at it, but there's a learning curve. And I remember when you told me, oh, we got lights. We're going to set them up. And I'm thinking of a light rig like we've seen, like you see now with Sparta, something on the trussing that's similar to what's behind us. You know, so I'm thinking it's going to be something good. And then we get there and it's like those Amazon DJ kit, where it's just like, it's a 6-foot bar. It doesn't even go over the cage. It goes right to the top of it. And it has all these like, I don't even know what sort of lights they were. They're like Chinese made things that were just, they got so hot. And I remember it was right behind me on the stand. And it was like literally right here. Like I was making a shadow on the cage. Yeah. And we had it over, it actually started smoking out the canvas on top of the cage.
Oh, that was at Thunder Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah, we had to stop because it started a fire.
And I was like, ah!
Yeah, I remember I'm like, where the fuck is that smoke coming from? And the referee's like, oh, this thing's on fire right here. The light had started the top part of the cage on fire where the vinyl was.
Because I was at Thunder Mountain.
Yep.
And it was an outdoor event, and I was up on a ladder right next to those scalding hot lights. And I just remember it was cool that we got our own stuff and we set it up and we're just like, it looked so bad. It was like, hey, I'm going to decide to go DJ at kids' birthday parties. And that's the kind of light kit you get.
Well, we were operating with a budget, if that's even what you can call it back then. I'm like, wait a minute, we can get like three fucking lights for like $24.99, and they'll burn your fucking face off.
Yeah, it says they're hot. That means they're bright, right?
Yeah, they weren't lying. That shit got hot quick.
Yeah.
Started on fire, started smoking.
Yeah, the old cage.
Man.
Oh. Yeah, it was good times. But we end up having that's kind of just how we grow.
Yeah.
When you think back to all that stuff. Because, yeah, it's come a ways.
Well, I mean, in any business, and you don't realize it at the time, like, there's just so much fucking struggle. And I don't think, like, no matter, like, what part of success you are in your journey, there is struggle. And it doesn't matter where or when. It's just always going to happen. I was talking to a friend about it yesterday, and he was just like, man, I appreciate you being real about the struggles that you've gone through, that you guys have gone through in building Sparta. And I'm like, it's just the fucking truth. Like, the struggle is always going to be there. And every time you go to a new level, there's going to be new struggles that you have to get out, figure around. And I mean, we've been through so much shit. We've had so many amazing moments and, so many not so amazing moments. Like, I think of, somebody was asking me what the most difficult part of Sparta has been so far. And I'm like, probably 2013. We're, getting ready to do a monster event at Budweiser Event Center. And I mean, this thing was fucking stacked. We had Josh Copeland, Shannon Sin, Vinny Lopez. This thing was going to be massive. And of course, they're talking about the worst flooding that we've ever seen in Colorado, and I don't know how in our lifetime for sure.
Yeah, what was that? September
2013.
Oh, it was September 13th because I think it was a Friday the
Yep.
13th.
It was.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't fuck with Friday the 13th anymore for events. But I just remember the build up, and it was going to be fucking huge. And then we see the weather that week, and we're like, all right, what are we going to do? So we still did weigh-ins, and it was raining like a motherfucker. And then that next morning, there was just no way. Part of I-25 had washed out up in northern Colorado, and we had to make that decision to cancel it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those fucking risk it all moments where, to be honest with you, we didn't even at the time, we didn't have a backup plan. We had enough money to cover the event, we thought. But we didn't have a backup plan. And so we canceled it. People were really upset. I don't regret it. I would do it again because the safety, the safety comes first.
Make it up there.
Yeah, and you couldn't even make it up there. I didn't want people trying to get out of their house. So we did the right thing, and we paid a lot of the pros their show purse because they were counting on it. And we said, hey, we're going to reschedule this for 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And what happened over the next 2 weeks is every fucking thing that could go wrong went wrong. People were pulling out. People were getting injured, so we were having to replace it. So September 27th, 2013, we do it again. And I remember, it was just pouring again. It was just fucking raining nonstop that whole night. And I'm, looking around. And this is Budweiser Event Center, and we probably had, 300 to 400 people in there. And I was just sick to my stomach because I knew it wasn't going to be good. And when it came to it, we lost more money than we fucking had.
Yeah.
So the whole way home, I remember I was sitting next to Becca. We didn't say a word to each other. We drive all the way home, and we didn't say anything. And I just remember I went downstairs, and I was just in my own moment and thoughts, and I just fucking lost my shit. I started crying, punched a hole in the wall. I was so upset because I'm I just let my family down. I lost money we don't even fucking have. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And so, a few hours later, Becca came down and she was just she's like, look, this isn't ideal what happened, but we could either feel sorry for ourselves or we could sack the fuck up and fix this. And that's what we did. We came together, and I remember I had to borrow $20,000 from my sister to make sure that everything was covered so that we can continue to go forward. And then we kind of got the train back on the tracks, and we had a successful October. We had a successful rest of the year that kind of pulled us out of the hole, And it's funny because we were just talking to Tom, who has been a filmmaker, and we were talking about you used to put all this money into it, and you're you think you make money, but really you're just paying yourself back from all the money that you fucked off.
Yes. And that was 2013. It was a very different beast back then, but that was devastating.
Yeah. There is nothing for anybody out there that's an entrepreneur. There is nothing more devastating and scary than losing money you don't fucking have.
Oh, yeah.
That is,
you can't.
There's just, what can you do? You just fucking have to figure it out.
Everybody knows, probably has a good idea with debt and just stuff like that. But when it gets up into the tens of thousands,
yeah,
it's scary.
You're playing with big risk. We talk about, Pepsi Center all the time. We risked $250,000 that night in one night to do that. But I remember, I don't regret any way that we handled that whole situation with canceling the event, rebuilding it, going a few weeks later, because those are lessons that we learned and have helped us grow.
Yeah.
But those are things where it's people see public glory, but not the private struggle. And that was probably at the time, that was the scariest thing that we had gone through.
Yeah. And I think it was a little different for me because I was still more in, I was helping out with the video, but I wasn't as embedded with you. I wasn't an owner yet. And if you want to know how I was through 2013, you could watch our last week's episode. I wasn't in a good spot either. But I remember when you called me to tell me that, because that was my main job, and I always looked forward to Budweiser Event Center events. And I was devastated. I was bummed. But then talking to you, you just I didn't think it was going on. You were in despair.
Yeah.
Like you were like, I think it's over. Kind of, just like you just had this giant monetary shock. And like, I just from working with you guys as long as I had, I knew like, ooh, that's not good. And I sincerely thought it was done. But kind of one of the other things that defines, things we've gone through and how we've been doing, you have, I think you called me again like 2 weeks later, or not even 2 weeks later, like later that week. And you're like, all right, we got a new plan. And it was like exciting. And we were there. And like, yeah, it wasn't the best, but we got there and did the event. And the fighters that were able to make it and still on the card, even the ones that weren't but still got paid, everybody really, there was a lot of respect there. And a lot of people were very happy with it.
Yeah.
But I still remember, even after that, it was this like looming, are we ever going to be doing an event again?
Yeah.
Because it was, even though we did the show, there was no money to be made.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, one of the most amazing parts that I remember about that night is Rob Wright, who had been a big part of Sparta forever and we're still close friends. He came over to me and he said, you know what, man, don't even worry about paying me because we're a team. And like when we win together, we win. When we lose, we lose. And I was just like, those were the most encouraging words I heard every night because everybody else was like, check, 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 and I'm like, I remember just thinking in my head, I'm like, fuck, we're writing a lot of checks and it was not good.
I wanted my check. You're much better than I, Rob.
Hey, I can't blame you, right? But that was a very pivotal moment in Sparta, and I truthfully believe a lot of people in our position would have quit at that point. But
oh, yeah.
We got back, and 2013 was basically just climbing out of the fucking hole, and then in 2014, I feel like we had a really good year, and got things back on in 2014 and 2015, and as we continued though. Like it was just always like we got to get this thing bigger. We gotta make better production and better lighting and better fights and and a better overall experience for the fighters, for the fans, for the sponsors. The entire thing.
Well, just because that really did start the rise up, and I think that was the fastest bounce back. Like we've hit some snags, like every business does.
Yep.
And it seems like with your craziness, we're gonna clothesline ourselves metaphorically every couple of years, it seems.
Yeah, we're in the middle of that right now. We're going to find out here in the next few weeks as we're lining up to take the biggest fucking risks that we've ever taken, that I've ever taken as an entrepreneur, that you've ever taken as an entrepreneur. But
I'm unaware.
This could be this is something we've been working on for many years, and we're 95% home on it. And
nice.
If this doesn't work, I'm going to be delivering fucking pizzas in my Lambo.
That's actually a pay increase for me, so I win either way. Now, the thing with that, going back to 2013, that I think from the down event in September 13th, it took, because later that spring in 2014, I think it was one of the first like sellout AVM show, or dang near close. And then we also went out of state and did some AVMs.
After 2013.
Yeah, this is 2014.
Yeah.
So it all of a sudden, because I know 2014 was like one of the biggest event years.
Yeah. And
we ended up hitting several states.
Yep.
And then coming back, and it was very consistent work. And by the end of that year, all of a sudden, I think that's going into 2015, where you're able to get the lighting rig, where you're able to get just level up.
Yeah, I think it was. I was like looking at it. It was like 2016 that we got the lighting rig.
Oh, was it
because we had done.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I remember we did the co-promotion with World Series of Fighting for the Gaethje Foster fight, and they had given us the task of getting the lighting rig that they needed. So I was like, okay, I went to, and I was like, I about fell out of my fucking seat. It was $16,000 to rent this lighting rig for one fucking night. And I remember I talked to Carlos, who was the WSOF CEO at the time. And he's like, yep. He's like, that's about right. That's what we do. And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, we could buy one for fucking $15,000 and never have to rent again. And by the way, I was very, very wrong in the cost of it. But we did buy one, and we debuted it in January of 2017.
That's right. Yeah, because the TV stuff. Oh, yeah, because we did that down at Adams County Fair?
No, Douglas County.
Douglas County, sorry.
That's how we came out hot. We did the Douglas County on early January, and then we did another event later that month as well.
Well, when we did the Douglas County, that was January 2017, and I remember it was our standard cut wire. We were getting into the broadcast multicam, and I think I only had 2 cameras up. One was a ridiculously fisheye wide-angle lens that you'd see on like skateboarding videos. The other one was like a normal camera. Because I remember our guy Tom was there, who you may see a lot of events. We have a lot of the start of the crew that we have now. But it was also that night you came up to me and you're like, "Hey, we got some people from Altitude coming in tonight." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, because we just started switching, and Jeff's already got this idea of like, "Oh, let's pitch it to TV," because people are coming in. I can't remember how you got hooked up with them.
Yeah.
But you came up and told us, and you're like, "Make it look cool." And like, I barely know what I'm doing, and I only have 2 cameras. And I remember like trying to make it seem really stressful, even though I was just like, spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. And I made it look intense. And they're like, "Oh, this is so great." I'm like, I guess I did something right. Because then we were meeting with Altitude a couple months later.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, like how shit happened progressively, and it felt like, I mean, the journey's been 14 years, but it felt like it happened really fast from when we caught momentum in 2014 through 2017, and but again, like we were making some major we were taking huge risks to make it happen. And I remember it was like in 2016, 2013, I remember sitting at the top of the Pepsi Center and I was like, we're going to do Pepsi Center someday. And then it was just like, dude, I look at the memories recently because it was June 30th, 2018. So it was yesterday, 5 years ago already.
Oh man,
that we did
5 years.
And, that was just one where like, man, I just was so blind. I would just like, drunk with my passion for wanting to do it, and that we didn't even like really enjoy it at the time because we pulled 3 straight nights with no sleep to get it done, and fuck, it was crazy.
3 straight nights, plus the entire like 6-month buildup.
Yeah,
because I remember we did like, God, it's so many promo days, and that was like a never-ending stream of content. Because I remember I had people working at the studio.
yeah.
Like we were just constantly turning it over. I mean, that was an adventure. 2018, yeah, going to the Pepsi Center, and then was that the day? That wasn't the day. That was the debut of King of Sparta.
It was.
Okay, yeah, because that was like the ring and cage thing, which I thought you were nuts for.
Yeah, it took 3 years to get fucking approved because the commission thought it was too many rounds and they didn't want to do it. But Joseph Mason was getting ready to retire, and I was like, man, I need something big for Pepsi Center, and he approved it. And fucking LT Nelson, the guy that we designed the tournament after, comes out and wins it, and it was fucking epic, man. That was crazy.
That was a good starting tournament.
We had 30 fights that night. And remember, we were doing 2 at a time, and people were like, "This is fucking crazy." And you're like, "Never again are we doing 2 fights at the same time." And then this year for AVM, I'm like, we might have to run 2 at a time.
I'm so glad it was definitely balls to the wall crazy, but with 23 fights this year. But I think we've only had to do 2 at a time, one other time, just because of time. And I think the commission made us do it because it was going slow. And we had a lot of fights to get through. Because, your pitch for June 30th to us was, again, it was our second or third show with the ring and the cage, which was a very new concept to us, as like logistically with cameras and crew. And this is a venue where we have to have the full crew. Like we have a TV crew in there basically with the jib. We have 2 switchers. Basically 2 channels going to our pay-per-view, going to the Jumbotron, because there's some that are making it to the pay-per-view, some that aren't, and it's just bedlam. And I know like mics were left on, there's like hot takes going on, and different stuff's going to the wrong monitor, but we pulled it off as far as like people at pay-per-view, and the others did, and we sped through it. And it's still an insane concept to me, and we're getting, like, I don't think we finished till 12:30, 1 o'clock that morning.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the the guy that ran Pepsi Center, whatnot, he was being a dick.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted to charge an extra $10,000 if we went past midnight. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
yeah, I remember it was like midnight and we had 4 fights to go.
Yeah, and you talked him into, I think, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And we had the most stuff packed in with the ring and the cage, full trussing, more than we've ever had packed in. And we had to break down in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we had like 50 people and people we grabbed from the audience. It was the messiest cleanup we've ever done, but we did it.
I remember we pulled out at like 2:57 a.m. We like just by the skin on our balls, bro.
Yeah.
We avoided another $10,000 hit right there.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I keep saying, like, after events like that, I'm like, oh God, I hope we don't have to do that again. It's something here in about a year or two is going to come up where it's like, oh my God, what the is Jeff thinking?
I think I'm not half the fucking time because some of my own ideas, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? But
well, it's like when I look in the so we have this we share just Google Docs with the fight cards so we can all see it, and I'll check in on it every now and then for upcoming fights. And like AVM this year, I see it. It's like 12 fights. Like, okay, we're a month or two out. It'll grow. And I see it get to like 15. I'm like, oh, okay, well, if it stays around there, that's a pretty good night. And I'm like 20, 25 fights. And then it's like, you're like, oh, we might have 32 fights. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is getting crazy. Thankfully, it pulls back a little bit, but even 23 fights in under 6 hours is a feat.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't know from the outside is like the organization it takes from your guys in on production to be like, okay, this guy's got to walk right here. He's got to get out. The next fight has to get in right here. It's like really well thought out and organized, or else it would be a fucking mess.
I appreciate you saying that, but when I come to you with these things before the event, you're like, make it work, Jesse.
That is true, because I'm like, make it work, and then you do make it work. So then, it's called enabling. You guys don't ever know when to say no. Well, you tell me no, but I don't listen.
But
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is on some levels. What do you earlier, the 2013 mishap and stuff, and me and a really good friend were having a conversation about just like shit that happens behind the scenes and struggle, and he's just like, what do you think is the hardest thing you've ever had to do in your entrepreneurship, in Sparta's journey and being an entrepreneur? And I'm like, oh, man. I thought about this, and I was just like, was it coming back from the accident? Nah. The hardest thing for me is I remember how to make a decision to either call you and say we were going to go out of business or sell our fucking house. And we had very in-depth conversations, me and Becca, like I was struggling with it because this house was the only thing, it was home to me. And I watched the girls take their first steps there.
This is the Westminster house?
Yeah. I watched the girls take their first steps there, say dada for the first time. There was all these memories. Like, I can't even explain to you why, but I was like emotionally just like I was torched about it. But I was just like for a few weeks I was like back and forth on it, and then we made the decision to sell the fucking house because we had a lot of money and equity that we knew could totally turn the whole thing. Well,
yeah, because that was one of those ones where you'd gotten it.
It was a HUD home.
Market, yeah,
it was a HUD home. So like we fucking bought that house for $115,000 in 2011, and the market started heating up in 2017, and going on from there. And so I remember I was just like, all right, this is it. We're gonna have to do this. And I was like, no, I can't do this. Just gonna do this. No, I'm not gonna do it. And made that decision. Fucking sold the house. And I was like I was devastated, to be honest with you, for a good couple weeks, because I would just like, after we had sold it, I drove by it every day. And I was just like, I'm going to buy this house back. I'm going to buy this house back,
I do remember you whining quite a bit during the... I do remember you separating from it because, yeah, it had been our base of operations. But I remember even telling you, there's like no practical way to continue. Your basement was filled with like screen printed shirts, and that's half your house.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a maze down there. There's fight stuff everywhere. Like your kids are getting big and growing up, and like they don't have like, they can't make like sofa forts and stuff. They can make like forced out of all the boxing gloves.
Yeah.
And everything, because that's all your house was storage for Sparta.
Well, I mean, in any entrepreneur knows, like when you're going in and you're building and you're like, fuck, what card can I put this in? I'm going to put it on this credit card and this on this credit card and this on this credit card. And it had just reached its limit. There was no more cards to put shit on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no more money there. But I kept like, wanting to grow and turn it bigger and do all these things. And so, yeah, making that decision, like I was like thought about that hard the last few weeks too. And like in talking to him the other night, I'm like, man, that was definitely the toughest decision. And if I had to do it again, I would in a heartbeat, because that's the thing is like, it's about making sacrifice.
Yeah.
We have made extreme sacrifice to take the next leap and the next leap and the next leap. And like, it's true what they say, every next level of your life will require a next level of yourself.
Yeah.
And a new level of fucking sacrifice. And, that's why like, we can't say too much right now, but we're in the middle of trying to do something big again.
Yeah.
Very big.
No, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know, maybe just to me, because I know you were on the front lines of that one. I've become more aware of it and interacted with the people involved as of late. So it to me, it's like an all of a sudden thing. But you've been working on it for like 5 months.
Yep.
And that's kind of like, too, again, how the business works is sometimes these pitfalls come up, but you've known about them way ahead of time. And I'm like, oh, man. And so it's like someone just kneecaps me. But then there's stuff like this where it's like, oh, man, that's like completely changing our trajectory, but in a way that we want.
Yeah. Something that we've been pursuing for a very long time.
So, yeah, we'll be talking about that probably the next week or two.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. The vision. Eventually, I want to be able to do like Sparta 100's coming.
Oh,
right?
yes.
In November. And so like I'm thinking that we do a fucking cage, a ring, and a ring. So that we have the three proving grounds.
I'm sorry. I blacked out for a second there. What'd you just say?
We're going to do 3 rings for Sparta 100.
Damn it, motherfucker.
And then I thought in my head, could we do 100 fighters and 50 fights?
Boo!
A 2:00 show
stuff
and a
in.
7:00 show, like we used to, man.
As long as it's over a pit of tigers with acrobats entertaining the crowd.
We're saving that for Mile High Stadium.
Oh, why not? Mile High doesn't even exist. Apparently, we're going back in time.
Yeah, no. Well, I just think that
I just so you know, I actually, when you said 3 rings so casually, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, fuck, I have to get my radar out. It's like, is he serious? And I have to like probe it for sarcasm.
yeah.
It's like, damn it.
You just don't ever really know,
No.
and Jessica's learning that right now.
However, I do know, like, kind of because you've pushed the limits so much, I know where the commission's limits are. I'm like, there's no way he's getting away with that.
They have limits, but
And then all of a sudden he'll get in good with somebody and do the right stuff. And all of a sudden he's meeting the governor. He's like, Jesse, come to the governor's with us. I'm like, oh, shit, he can do anything now.
yeah, look out. No, I'm excited for it, though, and we're excited to continue to share our stories. It hasn't all been glory. It's been a lot of sacrifice and struggle along the way.
Oh, yeah. But, I fucking love the life. Like, getting to do what we love. And, I used to serve or bartend and bar back and have to work several jobs to make ends meet, and like just being able to do this through feast or famine.
Yep.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like, I've been a lifelong fucking dream chaser, and I love it, dude. I love being able to wake up every day and go after it. And even when stressful shit happens, like I told you, I think we're just becoming so good at it that we're like, okay, we'll just pivot over here or do this.
Yeah.
No,
we're definitely we're getting good at figuring it out. Like, if we had this knowledge when we were younger, it would have helped. But we have it now.
Yeah, we won't be where we are if we had it. But we could pass it on to the next generation and, continue to grow. This is like you never figure it completely out.
No. And we've also learned that, if you don't need to do everything, sometimes get people that are smarter at you in different ways.
That is that's the truest statement ever, is like have people that are smarter than you in many different areas, and that's how you truthfully can grow.
Yeah.
So
we got a pretty good team, and I'm glad you got me out of my, hidey hole of editing, and because it's fun. It's fun talking about all the stuff, and especially as we're about to have a big leap forward, and we've been progressing, and it's obviously with your accident the other year with other setbacks. It's always an up and down roller coaster, but I feel like we've been on this incline for a little bit.
Yeah, like we were talking about the other day, is like, we've just got to continue to innovate and be first at what we do, and we've done a really damn good job of doing that, and I'm proud of our team. We have a lot of innovative and creative individuals that come up with new ideas to allow us to, continue to try new things.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just super fucking excited about this new venture, this new journey that we're about to go down, and it's going to be a lot of work, but a lot of excitement that's going to lead to a lot of new great memories.
Absolutely.
And probably a few shitty ones too.
Yeah, oh God, no, absolutely there too. We'll block them out.
I remember just sitting in the boardroom the other day with these other people, and I was just like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, you're doing it again. You're about to create a whole new world of fucking chaos for your team, and they're going to be excited, and then they're going to get gut punched.
Well, at least chaos technically means we're going to make some payment.
Yeah, but I feel like when everything's just running smooth, I feel lost, and that's fucked up to say, but I feel like we thrive in chaos.
Yeah, no, I would say we do.
It's
That's
just
how
like
I've always been with whether it's bartending, like under heavy volume, or I don't know. I've always been under the crunch, sort of. That's when I do my best.
Yeah.
And then you find ways to expand that into the rest of your life to get the most out of it, even when you're not under the crunch.
Yep.
And thankfully with you, it's always chaotic and last minute. So I'm always under the crunch.
It's like 4 p.m. I'm like, I need to do this at 4:10, 4:15. Can you do it? And you're like, fuck, there's no way. And then you get it done.
Well, so when are we coming back? Coming back in a week?
We'll be back in, we'll be back in a week or two. Maybe we'll wait until our little project's done, and then we can talk about that.
That sounds like a good idea.
That'll be fucking awesome. So we're really excited about it. What we're about to do is going to change the game again in sports and entertainment.
It's going to be good times.
It is.
I am excited.
Tune in next time to Unapologetically Chasing Dreams, and have a great 4th of July weekend.